All right. Well, welcome, Tomer, to the UX Book Club of LA.
Hello.
And
Thank you.
hello, everyone joining. Uh, Tonight, of course, we have Tomer Sharon, the author of It's Our Research, a book about gaining stakeholder buy in for user experience projects. So, very good. First off, for those who don't know Tomer, he's a senior UX experience researcher at Google Search in New York City. New York City. And he's an author of the book Lean User Research for Product Development from Rosenfeld Media, one of our sponsors. And then also Lean User Research for Product Development. I just said that. It's our research getting stakeholder buy in for user experience projects. Wonderful. He founded and led the Israel chapter of the User Experience Professionals Association and is a mentor at Google's Launchpad program at a boot camp for early stage startups around the world. So, Tomer, it sounds like you're really into the startup community. Seems like that's really a thing. Tell us what is in the shipping crates. Can you release that?
What, for Google or for the book?
Well, I keep hearing about these shipping crates down in the Bay Area, and it's I'm not,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Not every Googler knows a lot about what's everything that's going on at Google. Um, Google is a company that a lot of interesting things are happening there. And if I'd be interested in all the interesting things, I wouldn't have time to work. So I try not to um, be interested in a lot of things that are not really related to my work. Um, but yeah, I heard they're doing some things over there. I think it's related to the traffic situation in
Mm.
San Francisco in the area. But
I
yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
have to wait and see. Well, with real estate the way it is in the Bay Area, I totally get that they're looking for a little more real estate, maybe on the water. But now, of course, Tomer also preaches and teaches user experience at Treehouse and General Assembly, and also holds a master's degree in human factors and information design from Bentley University in Washington. So
Yeah.
wonderful. Also, you can tweet to Tomer at his handle at T Sharon. Wonderful. So before we get started, I want to remind everyone in this meeting that to type your questions directly into, it's probably right over there of your screen or whichever way, into the chat window, and then that way we can go ahead and open up your line so you can ask your question directly. Also, you could tweet those to UXBCLA. Once again, UXBCLA. You could tweet those questions, and also don't forget to tweet out some of the different findings that you come away with. That way, everyone who couldn't attend can also get some of the learnings. Also, I'd like to send a special thanks out to O'Reilly Media and Wiley Publishing for their continuing support of our book club. They provide us with a lot of support as far as providing us with the GoToWebinar and things like that. So definitely give them a shout out on Twitters and everything else. So Tomer, I can't say enough about this book. Fabulous book. It was really a good time for me because I needed to kind of revamp my the way I deal with research internally. And what I liked most about the book is that it approached it from a way that it wasn't about going out and doing the research. It was more about how to organize the research, get the buy-in in-house, so you can actually then go out and do it. And then once you've done it, how to report back on it once you've actually done that, so you can give it to the stakeholders. So fabulous book, fabulous book.
Thanks.
So tell us, what are you working on now? We know that you got this book, you got a couple other books. Tell us what you got going on.
So, um, right about the time that the first book, it's our research, was published in I think it was mid 2012. I started thinking about the second book, and a little less than a year ago, I signed with Rosenfeld Media to write the second book, which is titled, as you mentioned earlier, Lean User Research for Product Development. So if the first book was for people like me, or people who do research as either 100% of their time or as a part of another role, the second book is for people who are the complete opposite, for people who don't have time, don't have training, don't have money, don't have any skills in doing research, but still they want to do it. And there are a lot of people like that in the startup community and also in other companies that are maybe just entering this field, trying to learn from their customers or potential customers or users. So it's a shift from persuading people to do research or gaining skills to persuade people to do user experience research to guiding people who want to do research but don't know how, don't have money, and don't have time, guiding them on how to do that. Because what I found, and I interviewed a lot of people the past 2 years, I interviewed probably about 200 startup founders and product managers from different product development organizations. I learned a lot of things about them. I learned that they have very good questions about their users or potential users and customers, but they have very bad ways of answering those questions. And I hope that this book will help them answer these questions in a more, let's call it, valid and reliable way. So that's what I'm working on now in my spare time. My day job is at Google. It takes a lot of you, but in my spare time, mostly in my during my commute from New Jersey to New York and back, I'm busy writing that book. And as I mentioned earlier when we talked, 4 chapters to go and I'm done. It will be out sometime this year.
Oh, looking forward to it. Yeah, actually, it's in my to buy list. You know, all I need to do is put it in the cart and get it.
Yeah, it's on my to-do list. So,
Very good. So, like I mentioned, the book was very good. Talked all about how to get, from the start of the book all the way to getting stakeholder buy-in to even sponsor the research, all the way through to reporting on it and future follow-ups. It was a very thorough book, but was there anything that was left out of the book? Things that you now hope, now that the book's a little bit more seasoned, that you wish that you had gotten into the book?
I learned a couple more techniques after it was printed, which I would have included them in the book if the timing was right. But I have no remorse. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with what was printed, and I kind of mentally moved on. I was very interested in the topic, not because I wanted to publish a book, because I really had this problem. I was definitely not an expert on solving this problem. It was challenging. It was challenging for me to deal with stakeholders almost at any given day, and I wanted to do something about it. First of all, for myself, I wanted to see that I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one that had this problem, and I talked with a lot of people like me who do what I do all over the world, and I validated the problem. They also, when I asked them, what are your top 3 challenges at work, it was either number 1 or in the top 3. The problem of getting buy-in for research. And when I say buy-in, I mean 2 things: getting people to agree to do research and sponsor it, and but also if they do agree, because it happens a lot that people agree and sponsor research, but then when they see the results, they refuse to act on them. So it's either or, sponsoring research, agreeing to do research, and doing something about it. So yeah, that was the reason I started this journey with the book, and yeah, today I can't say that I'm an expert on this. It's never easy. It's a moving target, but I know a lot more about it, and I have a lot of techniques in my hand to use every day. Not all of them work, but at least I'm trying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the interesting things, is that one of the things I took away from the book was that, not that I ever didn't think that it was an option, but to just say, you know what, that's not really a project I'm interested in. Um, just say, I don't really see that this is you're actually going to do anything with these findings, and really devoting your efforts and your energy to things that will actually have an input or an impact to either the product or the organization.
Yeah, I must say that Google is probably the first company that I was able to really do that and refuse to do different studies, and it was okay. And I know I didn't start my life at Google. I know exactly what's going on in other places. You're not always in a position to do that, but if you can, say or ask, what are you going to do with results when you see them? And if you're not hearing something that you like in advance before you start, just don't waste your time and energy on it, because it's just, or for example, I just had a conversation with someone today. Why would you do, I mean, that person told me about his stakeholders, or her stakeholders actually, that keep asking for more and more research. And I asked her back, did they implement the results or the conclusions of the previous studies? And she said no. So I was like, no reason to do any more research if they don't fix what you found previously. So, I mean, it's only reasonable. Why are you doing research anyway?
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah, very good point. Very good point. It almost kind of warrants, how to track your recommendations to see if they've gotten implemented, and going on from there. But then I guess that goes with testing.
I think I wrote the book a long time ago, so 2012 was when it was out, but I think some of it I wrote even in 2010, so it's 5 years ago, so I don't remember all of it. But I think I have a part there where I mention some tracking techniques, and I think what worked well for me over the years was the internal bug reporting system, or whatever it is, because engineers mostly, are accountable, for being accountable for the bugs they fix, and if, let's say, for example, usability problems are considered as bugs and you can enter them into that system, it's perfect. It's being tracked. Everybody's aware of them. It annoys other people that they're not being fixed because they're not 100% working on what needs to be fixed. So I found it to be much better than any spreadsheet that you create on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like even though you make the recommendations, they're just moving on with the product or the project or whatever it may be, and it's kind of like it just turns into a UX debt, and it's like, well, we'll get to those fixes a little bit later, and then you just keep rolling and rolling, and all of a sudden they just keep piling up. And yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Another technique that relates to that is not report too many findings. Not a lot of people agree with me on that, but if you find 50 things that need to be fixed, don't report all of them, because what's going to happen is they're going to fix the 45 things that are easy to fix by tomorrow morning, and then the 5 biggest problems are not fixed, and they'll say, we fixed 45 out of 50 recommendations, so we're doing a good job. So in that situation, would only report these 5 problems. And let them deal with it. These are the problems that matter. I don't care that, I don't know, maybe one button is inconsistent with other buttons, whatever. But important problems are there, and they have no way of getting around them. They have to deal with them.
It's a very good point. That's really good. Yeah, that's.
There's a counter argument for that. That if the development team has time, they should have the entire list so they can fix things. That's true, but still, I think they first need to deal with the top and the most important problems.
Yeah, I could see how that could work, and then from more of a kind of maybe getting that teaspooned into sprints or whatever it may be, the next cycle that goes into place to getting those things resolved, and then doing the tracking that goes along with it. Very good. One other thing is that the book, it is a couple years old. I have seen, at least in my organization, a bit of a change of people not reluctant to research, but definitely want to do it, um, but not knowing what or how to do it. So they know they want research, and they've read a few articles. They're like, I want to do a usability test, and then you're like, okay, well, what do you want to learn? And one thing I did like about your book is that it's the cart and the horse. Don't tell me what you want to methodology you want to use. Tell me what you want to learn, and then I'll match the methodology. But they get it so stuck into their head, I want this methodology, that it's really hard to convince them otherwise. How do you deal with it?
I very quickly sway the discussion away from methodologies and talk about what is it that they want to know, what questions they have, what decisions are they trying to make, there could be many sources for research questions. What arguments they have in the team, what are two big bosses are fighting about that needs resolution, what two teams are fighting about. Sometimes I don't even ask. I just attend different meetings and I listen, and these things reveal themselves very easily. So you can suggest how to solve these things. So I don't even talk about the methodologies. I just talk about the questions, the knowledge gaps that they have, and they very quickly can relate to that. It's not about research. It's about the problems that they have and the gaps that they have, decisions that they're trying to make or take. And then we talk about people who are supposed to use it, people who are supposed to participate in research, and then only then I propose, not them, I propose a way to get answers to those questions. And then they can start the discussion. I mean, and it's fine. I mean, some people had good experiences with other research methods, but sometimes it's only you that know what is the right method to use. So yeah, you experienced the usability test that was really helpful, but now that you want to know what people need, usability testing is not the way to go. It's not going to give you an answer to that question. So let's talk about that question, and then I'll propose a way to answer this question validly and reliably, and it's probably not going to be usability testing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a tough conversation to have with a stakeholder because they already kind of have it dead set in their head what they want, but it is really more of a conversation.
But talking about their questions kind of moves the discussion from research. Research is a big word. Not a lot of people even understand it. It sways the discussion away from research to their challenges. And they understand whether it's implied or not. They quickly understand that you are trying to help them. Sometimes I like to say, I'm trying to make you the hero, the person with the answers. I'm going to give you the answers that you need. I'm going to give you the information and the data that you need. You just need to help me and understand what is it that you need and why. And then we can talk about whether this is usability testing or not. And that's, to me, that's very important. To you, the stakeholders, you shouldn't care if this is a usability test or a survey or whatever, or a field study. You need answers. That's what's important. So that's what I try to talk with them about, rather than the technique that I'm going to use.
Yeah, I run into some situations where it turns into a bit of a scope creep, that all of a sudden, you'll have one set of learnings, one set of goals. These are your research questions. And then all of a sudden, well, I want to learn about this. Can we kind of fit that in there? Yeah, not really, because I'm not going to give you anything that you're really going to be able to do anything with. But they because we maybe only have we only have a couple projects or a couple research projects at a given time. try to get their answers in there even though it's not appropriate?
I always try not to say no. Um, I want them to feel that this is a positive experience for them, that is providing them the answers that they need. So if we agreed, if I understood that they need a field study and we agree that this is what we're going to do, and then they start coming up with questions that are more fitting for a usability test, I'm going to try and include a usability testing component in the field study, um, and have everyone happy. Because I mean, we're there. We can. It's not that we can't do that. Or I'll give you an example from a study that I'm going to do in 2 weeks. I'm going to go to a very faraway country, and we agreed that we're going to do a very qualitative field study, and then some quantitative questions came up. So we decided to change the plan a little bit and do the field work, but also do some kind of an in-person survey with as many people as we can find in a shopping mall, at the street, or something like that, and get answers to the quantitative questions that people have, because this is what they need to know. I can't tell them you don't need to know this, because they did persuade me that it's important for them. Here are the decisions we're trying to make, and I'm going to try and be helpful. I'm not there to prove a point. I'm not there to do my thing. I'm there to help them get answers and make decisions and make better products and the right products. So if that's what's going to help them, that's what I'm going to do.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah, I find that same thing, kind of like a hodgepodge, almost a hog's ear of a research project. Trying to take all these different types of elements and these different types of methodologies and kind of cram them into one so you can get everybody what they want. Make everybody happy.
And if they join me to these and they want to ask their own questions that are, you and I know that they're really bad questions, I let them. I let them do that. If they feel good about it, that's also good. I will, after that, I will make sure that they use the right data, that they use the data correctly, that they understand why a certain question could be more helpful to answer their need or their knowledge gap rather than what they asked. So, and most of you don't deal with stupid people. They understand if you explain it right. And it's not that they want to do a bad job. Everyone wants to do a good job, so they'll listen.
Very good.
Most of them, at least.
Most of them. Yeah, that's a great point. I've always been kind of reluctant. I'm like, you really don't want to ask that question, but that's very interesting. Just let them ask the question. Worst case scenario, you don't get any findings from it. You just let it go. But at least they feel satisfied, because I've ran into this in projects to where stakeholders, even though they have nothing to input or anything else, they've asked you for these learnings, they still want to kind of have a little input to say that their name's on it also. And that sounds like a perfect example.
I think it's important that they feel that way.
Yeah.
And if they don't ask their questions, I think it's important to even give them an opportunity, even if they don't want to ask questions, because you want their names to be as ones that came to conclusions, that did this research, because then, and I always like to give the example of a presentation. Usually when research ends, you're a researcher, you know that, you prepare a nice deck of slides with results, and you present the results to your team, and usually you're the one talking. People ask questions, people agree or disagree with you, whatever, but there's this presentation, and I say if you do that, have the primary stakeholder present with you, and have them present the important parts, not the descriptions of participants and the methodology, but have them communicate the findings, have them communicate the recommendations, because when a software engineer or when a product manager speaks to product managers and other software engineers about these things, it's much better than I do it, because they speak the same language and I'm not speaking their language, no matter what. And I highly prefer that an engineer would present their recommendations of what to do after whatever research it is that you're doing. But to be able to do that, they need to be a part of it. They need to be a part of the planning. They need to be a part of the data collection, of the analysis. They have to have a stake in it. It's not. There's a reason they're called stakeholders.
That's a very good point. Not that I never thought about that, but maybe it just, they also have a bit of convincing to do themselves to their team that they need to make these changes or implement the recommendations, and having them present the findings. Maybe it comes from more of a place of, hey, this is coming from me. It's not coming from a researcher, kind of an outside component of the team.
Yeah, but they must be involved.
Yeah.
It's not going to work if you're going to do the research and then when the presentation is ready, you're going to ask someone to present with you. It's not going to work this way.
Right.
They have to be a part of the team that created this presentation, that created this study, that was involved in everything. That's why when I go to a faraway country to do field work, I never go alone. There's no point. If I'm not going and research, if nobody's joining me, and when nobody, I mean engineers and product managers and designers, if they're not going to join me, there's not going to be any research. I'm never going alone, and it's not for safety reasons. It's for getting buy-in reasons.
It's for having somebody to buy the drinks. So, but another key thing, getting the stakeholder buy-in, so important, but also documenting what you plan on doing. Is putting together the research plan, having all that stuff. I'm sure now that you're working on more of a lean type of a book, the documentation as far as the preparation and planning has, there's a big contrast between lean documentation and more of that really heavy research project plan. Tell us a little bit about that, and where's the sweet spot?
I always start research with a very quick meeting, maybe half an hour, where I understand the basics of what is the request, why this is happening, who is it for, when is the latest time people need results, and things like that. And then I quickly come up with a one-page research plan. I actually wrote an article about that too. I can find it. So one-page research plan that has all these really important components for people to understand what's going to happen. Just find it. Not Smashing Pumpkins, Smashing Magazine. 1 second. I called it the UX research plan that stakeholders love, and I think it's also a part of the book. So it has some background, it has the goals of research, the research questions, the methodology, participant criteria, schedule, and that's it. And it's usually one page, and then I can start collecting feedback, and then maybe it grows to 2 pages, but not more than that. I don't focus on the document. I focus on creating this shared understanding of what's going to happen and why, and have agreement from all of the relevant stakeholders that this is what we're going to do, this is how long this is going to take, this is who we're going to do it with. These are the questions that we'll have answers to by the end of this research, and these are the most important things. The rest is details that they shouldn't care about, or at least not in this stage. So yeah, I try not to you know, create documents that are long and tiring for people. Um, yeah, I also don't write reports usually.
No?
Um, that's another thing that not a lot of people agree with me on. This is kind of motivation for stakeholders to participate. Um, I don't need to do that today because my teams know me already, but at the beginning, I needed to say, there's not going to be a report. You need to come and watch. You need to be a part of it. Um, do some shifts, I don't know, whatever, 2 engineers per session, whatever. But there's not going to be a report. There's going to be a spreadsheet we're going to work on, the Rainbow spreadsheet, and that's it. So that's going to be the report. I'm not going to write any long document that nobody's going to read but me, and you have to be a part of it. That's the bottom line. I mean, what I'm trying, my main point throughout the book, and what I'm trying to do with every research effort that I do, is to make people feel, make stakeholders feel that their research, that the research is theirs as much as I feel it's mine. That's why the book is called "It's Our Research." Um, it's everyone's research. It's not my research. Yes, I have the job title researcher, but research is not mine. I'm not going to do anything with it. It's their product. It's their work. It's their knowledge gaps. Their questions. So it's their research as much as it is mine. So they need to be a part of it. If they don't want to be a part of it, it's not going to happen.
Hmm. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, as an in-house researcher, it's a lot easier to kind of say that. As a consultant, it may be a little bit tougher to get away with not having the documentation.
Yeah, and I give that disclaimer in the beginning of the book that I'm not a consultancy person. I think my experience in agencies is maybe 3 months, and I ran away, not because of the bad people. It's just, it's not for me. Um, but what I did to kind of compensate for that, I think I have 45 short case studies in the book, throughout the book. Many of them are from people who work as consultants. So some of the things there are also relevant for consultancies. I mean, if you know that nobody's going to read a report, why provide one? Why not create something more experiential for people and communicate results in a different way other than a report? So yes, I can get away with a lot more as an in-house practitioner, but I think consultancies can do similar things. And the book includes some examples for that, and I've been hearing about a lot of consultancies that do these things differently. So it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to remind all the members of everyone on, don't forget, use the chat. It's always open for questions. So whatever questions you may have, um, definitely ask it either on Twitter or on the chat. But very good, very good. Yeah.
I'm adding the link to the article about the one-page research plan to the chat now.
Oh, there you go. Very good. And another thing you brought up was, talking about not as much the analysis. It gives you a little bit of analysis, but mainly the findings report is that Rainbow spreadsheet. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So the Rainbow spreadsheet is good for some things and not good for other things. It's good for when you either have live, moderated, synchronized research sessions, such as a usability test in a lab. So a team can watch what's going on together at the same time. Or when you have videos of a recording of research, And then again, the team doesn't have, I mean, research doesn't have to happen at the same time, but let's say I recorded something yesterday or last week, and as a team, we all watch it together. So that's when the Rainbow spreadsheet is good for. And what you can do with it is it has several sheets, but the main sheet is for observation. So everyone is entitled and encouraged to add their observations. And you just, every participant has a color, and you color the cells for each observation that happened in any given session. And by the end of the study, and by the end of watching all these videos, you get a very visual kind of picture of what happened during this study. I also use it for tracking a lot of metrics, pretty much tracking everything that's related to this study, tracking metrics if it's relevant. I also have a sheet for summarizing all the answers the participants gave to the screening questionnaire, and then I also add, if it's relevant, I add links to the videos of the sessions, and in the end we create together in between sessions, if let's say it's a usability test that's running in a lab, or even if you watch videos in between sessions, we have a short discussion that is focused on tightening that list of observations, removing duplications, and discussing what we found, and then moving on to the next session. And by the end of the day, we have a meeting during which we create a summary sheet in which we answer the questions that we decided that we'll answer by the end of this study. So we answer them together based on what we just saw, and decide on action items, and that's it. The research is done. The report is ready. That's the report. And some people ask me, what if your manager's manager asks for a report? Then I just ask back, what do you want to know? Can I come over for 5 minutes and answer your questions? And if they insist, this is the report. That's it. That's what people are using. That's what people created together. It's not, my report that now, people need to use. It's their report. They were a part of coming to conclusions, and it's just a nice collaborative tool for all of us to work on this together. As I mentioned earlier, they need to feel it's theirs. That's one tool that creates that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, buy-in is one thing, but also, one nice topic that was part of your book is by having that buy-in, having them in the room, having them there, seeing the findings, it doesn't, when you actually present the findings, they're not saying there's no disagreement. They were there, so it keeps, I think, everyone pretty well aligned. So you're not sitting there.
It's hard to object to something you created.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for them to be a part of this.
Absolutely. So another nice thing about the book is the videos that you provided and all the different case studies and things like that. This is one thing I really liked about the book. Interesting though, the QR codes. I guess back in 2010, I don't know. I haven't really gotten into the QR codes. I don't think they actually got the legs as we had hoped. But a very interesting approach to including videos and such inside of there.
Yeah, someone asked me if there are going to be QR codes in the new book. I don't know yet.
Oh, you're going to add QR codes to the new book?
I didn't create any video. I mean, you know what? I did. I don't know. We haven't decided yet. I mean, the QR codes, I know, I'm well aware of the fact that everybody's, laughing at these, but you tell me, what's a better way to include a video in a book?
Yeah, well, I love it when you print you print something and there's a link in it, like you can actually touch the paper and go to the link.
But with a QR code, you can do something about it.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm not convinced otherwise, I might include them as well in this book.
I don't have a better solution for you.
Yeah, I haven't heard of one. But anyway, if you want to hear the anecdote behind these videos, it's really funny because I finished writing the first draft of the book, and I thought to myself, well, it's going to be nice if I'm going to interview 5 people, you know, 5 important and famous people about the topics of the book, the topic of the book, and I created a list of people who I might want to interview. And since I was very insecure and I thought everybody would say no, I had 30 names on that list. And today I don't regret it, but back then I sent the email to all of these 30 people, and all of them, not even one, said no. All of them said yes. So I had to interview all of them. But it was so much fun and so much. It added so much. I decided to include references to these videos in the book, and I continued. I think I have by now. I stopped interviewing people about that, but I think I have 50 something interviews because it was so much fun. Even after the book was published, I continued doing these interviews because they were so much fun.
Very good. Yeah, I liked it. It was good. I would say, well, like I said, I don't have a better solution, but the QR codes made it very nice to get right to the videos and things like that. It looks like
Today you can find all the videos on my YouTube channel.
oh, there you go.
So all of them are there.
Yeah, it's yeah. So we do have a couple questions. Anna, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and open up your mic so you can ask your question.
Okay.
And you're on. Are you there? I believe I turned your mic on. Anna? Or Anita.
Oh, is my mic on? Okay, yes. I actually did because I asked a question on Twitter. What was my question? Let's see. What is a good introduction for getting busy team members involved that can't devote time to be 100% in the process, like you said, like being in the room with you? How do you do that?
Any specific roles in mind, or in general?
I guess just in general, like, how do you get people involved if they just don't have the time to sit in the room with you and watch videos, things like that? Yeah.
I do a few things. First, I involve them in everything else. They need to look at the plan, and sometimes these people, I send them the document and they don't read it, so I schedule a meeting one-on-one with them, and I make sure they are reading it. So I just, the meeting starts with, okay, it's only one page. Go ahead, read it. I'll wait, and tell me what you think. If you have any comments, and you read it. Usually, it doesn't even have to be that embarrassing. They just read the document a minute before the meeting starts. If they can't watch, I sometimes, not always, sometimes create a clip with the highlights. I make sure that the people ready to that, if they are managers or I make sure that they, the people that report to them, are watching, are involved, and they will tell them about it. Sometimes they're specifically asked, go tell your manager about what you saw here, and they will. And I think the most important thing is to tap into their questions. If they have questions, if they have a problem they're trying to solve, a decision they're trying to make, they'll be interested. So I just ask them, come for 5 minutes. I even sometimes with a very tough stakeholder, I schedule the meeting when we talk about these things, I scheduled it in the usability lab while another study was going on, not even mine. So they get the idea of what it looks like. I just said something like, I couldn't find a meeting room. All of them were occupied, so do you mind if you sit here? And then they just look around and listen and see what's going on. This is how it looks like, so I might come. So yeah, these things might work, and I mean, it's not going to work all the time, and you win some, you lose some. So I'm not worried about that. Next time they'll show up.
And I believe you had one more question.
Yes, I did actually. How do you, how deeply do you involve the team members in the data analysis? Because it seems to me for the things like surveys and card sorts, there is a specific way that you analyze the data, and it seems that it would be another thing to learn for them. And maybe people are like, oh, I can't handle this. You do it and write the report. So how deeply do you involve people for that?
Yeah, so you touched the most important point. It depends on what is it that we're trying to do and what method that we use. So if it's a survey, you might be the one analyzing it. But I must say that I had stakeholders that just asked me. They asked me, the minute you have the raw data, send it to me. I'll play with it. I give it to them. No questions asked. And sometimes they're even quicker than I am coming up with conclusions. If it's a card sort, it depends on the person. Some people are really interested and they want to do it on their own. If they don't, fine, that's okay. If it's a field study, they're going to be there with me. They have no choice. They will have to be a part of the team that analyzes it, whether it's during the quick debriefs immediately after each session, whether it's the daily debrief or the analysis workshop we have in the end. They are a part of it. It's not happening if they're not there. And with usability studies, it's exactly as I described earlier with the rainbow spreadsheet. They're there. It's a part of what they do, and I'm not surprising them. I'm telling them in advance. We're setting expectations. This is what's going to happen. If you want this research, you have to be involved.
That answer your question?
Yes, it did. That was great. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Do you have any others?
No, that's kind of all I had for now.
Okay.
Maybe I'll think of some later. I don't know.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So, I mean, like I'd said, this was a great read. I wish I had more questions for you when it comes to the book, but you answered so many of them in the book. It makes it very difficult to try to say, okay, well, you really didn't explain this one topic very well. It's a very, very well written book. I guess is just, the biggest thing is that getting that stakeholder buy-in as far as saying, hey, I want to, they want to come to the project, they want to dump off the project and then run away and then come back with findings. But it's also just kind of going out and being involved with the organization to even uncover potential research. I don't know. Have you ran into the situation where you feel like you're just kind of going around looking for research?
No. I think that that was relevant for, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But recently I find myself saying no to many, many, many requests, more than I want to. I have the opposite problem. I guess it also relates to how mature the company is, but there are always people sometimes ask me where are research questions coming from? Who's initiating it? You or your team? So sometimes it's me, sometimes it's them. What's important is not to accept everything. Sometimes they're asking wrong questions. Sometimes they're asking not so important questions. And it's your job, and I think this is something that we do have the expertise to handle, and we do need the experience to do that well, is to say, I think you should ask a different question. I think this question is important, and I think we have an opportunity to answer this question and help you, make you a hero again. And in many cases, they do ask the right question. So it's all a matter of priority. These days, I keep asking them, okay, these are all important questions. Which one is more important, do you think? This one or that one? How long can you wait for this or that? So it's a matter of priorities rather than finding what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings me to my next point is that how do you prioritize your projects? I mean, sometimes you run into situations where everything is important.
There's usually someone that can help with that. I mean, I'm not making decisions. I give my opinion. I sometimes say, finding out whether links should be blue or black is not a really important research question. Finding out how we can better compete in Japan is a more important question, and I think we should answer that. But there's usually someone who is able to kind of oversee these questions and say, okay, I think this one is more important than the other, and there's always that person that can help. You just need to have access to these people, and you do that with many techniques that I mentioned in the book, but by sharing a lot of what you do with them, by having ongoing meetings with them. It doesn't have to be very frequent. You can meet that person once a quarter or something, or go to lunch with them or breakfast, whatever it is that you're doing in your organization, and talk about these things then.
Very good. Yeah, it's having a good, I guess, kind of a research manager is really important to kind of prioritize that list and make sure that you're getting the things that are important, or to be able to at least manage the backlog to make sure that things are, plus also getting questions answered in the right order. I find that in some cases it feels like we're answering a question, but that question would be contingent upon another question that needs to be answered. So ordering them in a way that makes it a little bit easier.
And sometimes, to some people, sometimes it seems that researchers are trying not to do research. And sometimes it's true. I would find ways not to do research for a good reason, because either it was done by somebody else a long time ago. We don't have to study again blue and black links. We know the answer today. You might choose to do whatever you choose to do, but I don't need to do research about that. I know the answer. It's blue links. They work better. I don't need any research for that. And another thing is that, especially in larger organizations, the wheel is turning, and sometimes you find yourself being asked to do the same research or being asked to answer the same questions that you were asked, or somebody else in the organization was asked 3 years ago or 5 years ago. And nothing changed much, so there's no need to do that research again. You just need to pull it out and provide the answers. Or sometimes a lit review would be more helpful than actually going to Tokyo and interviewing people. Because, again, we have a lot of information available to us. We just need to pull it out.
Yeah, it's very insightful. It's interesting how, and especially kind of when you're starting new to an organization, to be able to understand what they already know, so you don't have to duplicate research. Just uncovering past learnings is a project, well, multiple projects in itself.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I keep, whenever I join a new organization and I have these, I get exposed to these truths. I always ask back, how do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
And what you find a lot of the times is that there's no good answer to that. I just know. It's not based on research, it's based on opinion. And then you know that this is an opportunity for you to make some impact.
Yeah, not that I run into it too often, but there I have heard of situations where that comes up where they will have made some sort of a statement, and then you're in the position to disprove that almost in a way. And not to say that we make enemies, but there's a potential to step on a few toes.
So one skill you should definitely have as a researcher is a negotiation skill. If there's one video that I always recommend, one interview that I did that I always recommend to people who are interested in that to watch is one with a guy called Chris St. Hilaire. He's actually from LA. And he is a negotiator. He doesn't know anything about user experience. I just happened to hear him, and I asked to interview him, and he kindly agreed. And it's just amazing. I'm gonna find a link. You're not gonna regret these. I think 11 minutes that you're gonna spend on watching this video. There are ways to disagree with people without making them feel bad. So let's find him. Chris Hilaire. Yeah, 11 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah, it's let me put it in there. Yeah, but yeah, it's not that I've ever ran into it to myself with that, but I have heard from other people. Yeah, we really don't want to open that up because that's kind of that other person's baby. That's their thing. They don't really want you in their business. So
it doesn't have to come up like that. I mean, they might say something, and you can say, I think Chris mentioned that in the interview. I think that's a great way to go. Here's another way that you should consider. And I didn't disregarded what they had to say. I listened, and I think you can create a lot of opportunities for research with this kind of approach to let's call it to people. I would argue that half of the skills that a researcher should have have nothing to do with research. They're people skills and negotiation skills.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's an interesting line of work, to say the least, but a lot of fun. We have time for one more question. If anybody on the line wants to ask a question, just throw it into the chat. We're almost out of time. I think, but very good. Well, doesn't look like anyone else has any questions, and I know we're running kind of on a hard stop. But I want to thank you, Tomer, for your time. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. You've given us a lot of insights as far as not only as far as your current book, your future book. We hope you get the 4 chapters done so we can read it.
Yeah, working on it.
And
I'm adding some links to the chat. I have a newsletter monthly, not more than once a month. With Lean Research resources. I have a Facebook page, a Google Plus page. You can find me on Twitter and whatever you can think of on social media. I'm there, and I'm available for questions. Even if you wake up sweating in the middle of the night tonight and you had to ask something and you forgot, send it to me over Twitter. I'll answer tomorrow.
Sounds great. We really appreciate it, Tomer.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone on the line. It's been a wonderful event. If you do have any additional questions, definitely get a hold of Tomer. Otherwise, look for the next event. We're going to try to get the next event published, hopefully by the end of the week. That way we can go ahead and get reading on the next book. But thank you for your time, Tomer, everyone on the meetup. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.